Hi everybody, it's Miss Liemer-Kelly again, and it's getting closer to the end of the year. Those of you who are upperclassmen may have remembered that usually brings about our chalk day. And although we cannot do a physical chalk day at Baldwin High School, I am going to teach you how to do a chalk drawing on a piece of sidewalk in Photopea. So here's an example of one. This is a VW buggy. And let's see, I think I have another one. Oh, yep, here's Phineas and Ferb, two cartoon characters. So, two of my favorite. And 100 Days of Summer, here we go. Almost here, we've almost made it. So this is what you're going to do. I would suggest you take a photo of anything on the internet. It could be a bird, it could be cartoon characters, it could be a car like I did in the last. And we're going to break it. I'm going to break it down for you. So I found a picture of Scooby-Doo. And let's start a new project. This is my background I'm going to use for my sidewalk. I will attach this to the Google Classroom so you can use that if you want, or you can find a different sidewalk if you want. So I'm going to make a new project, go to new project. I'll change this after, and then I'm going to just go to my desktop where I've already brought in my Scooby-Doo picture, and I'm going just to drag and drop it. I will then go to hold down shift so my picture doesn't get distorted. We will get distorted later on, you'll see. I'm gonna hit return, and then I'm going to go to this cropping tool right here. You click on it, go to crop, and that will get rid of everything else. Cartoons are pretty simple because most of them you can find with a solid background. And after that, it makes it easy to select and isolate the cartoon. So just by going to my magic wand, in my quick selection, my selection tool, I can click on the blue, and then I could add into my selection by going up to the option bar here, and I could add into the other selections and get the rest of my blue in. And as soon as that's done, all I have to do is go to select inverse. It's one of the few things we learned in the very beginning of Photoshop. So this should be something easy to do. We need to get this on its own layer. We go to edit, copy, and then you go to edit, paste, and now it's on its own layer. So I can turn that off. I don't need to see that right now. And we're going to do some things to Scooby that are kind of help it look more like it's on a chalk cement type surface. First, I'm going to do again what I did. I'm going to now just select my white so that that's all selected. Unfortunately, in Photopea, you can't save your selection like we were able to in Photoshop, so you have to find the quickest way to do your selections. And then I'm going to inverse it. So now Scooby is selected. I'm going to change this layer into a smart object. This is important because later on we're going to be doing some transformations and some things, and we're going to want to be able to change that. And then I'm going to go up to filter, and I'm going to first go to filter gallery, and I'm going to change my filter gallery to boss relief. So when it's like this, it turns more to a grayscale image, which is fine. I want to change the smoothness almost all the way down, and I want to get as much detail as I can. So you can see like you've got this rougher looking Scooby going there. You can change the lighting how you want. You can see that it changes either way, but it gives you a more dimensional look to it. So that's the first thing that we want to do. And when you're happy with the way your lighting looks, I think I'm going to do top left. You can choose what you want. Hit OK. All right. So after that, we're going to use a different filter. We are going to go to pixelate, and we're going to do crystallize. And you don't want 10. You want to get this down to as low as you can. I think the lowest it'll go to is 3. Let's see how that looks. All right, so that's giving us a little bit more of that crystal look to it. Chalky look. You can hit OK. And remember, if you don't like any of your filters, you can always turn them off. See? So that's what the smart filter allows you to do. It allows you to pick and choose what you want. And the last thing I'm going to add is a little bit of noise. Not a lot, just a little bit. I'm going to go to Gaussian, and I'm going to bring this down so it gets a little bit more speckly. Just imagine what it's like to draw on a cement surface, and then I'm going to hit OK. All right, now I'm going to make a new layer, and this is something we did also in remember back we did the black and white photo, and those of you in the advanced class, you may have done that or not. But first, again, I want to make sure that my selection, it's still selected, and that's important. And then I need my colors of Scooby-Doo. So I'm just going to open this up in a different color so that I have some of those things to share with. And I am going to change this one to multiply. Okay, so it's pretty much an easy thing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the turquoise collar first. I'm going to change my color by using that selection tool. Well, that's pretty close. You can get a little bit bluer if you want. That's good. Hit OK. I'm going to use my paintbrush now. And remember, your bracket tool allows you to get bigger and smaller. And I'm going to paint in the collar. You're going to do this for anything that needs color in this area. When you go to black, you can just go and hit your default, and you can go and put your black spots in. We're also going to do some multiply when we add our background in. So anything that looks solid right now is going to change a little bit, because when we put the multiply background in, actually we're going to use an overlay background. It'll allow you to get some of the texture of the sidewalk in on a different layer. Okay, so let's not forget his nose. And you can always undo if you're not happy with what you're doing. So the black is pretty solid, which is fine. What's going to be less solid is the brown in the multiply. So I'm going to now go and pick a color that's similar to a Scooby Brown. That's pretty good. And hit OK. I'm going to go for a bigger brush now. Don't worry about the outline, because we're going to do something with the outline later. And I'm just going to color in. And it's okay if you go over the black. That's the beauty of it. That's why I did the black first. But be careful of going over the turquoise. And because I still have my selection, you can see that the white is not affected, especially in between his paws. Okay. And if you want to get smaller, to get some smaller areas, just lower the brush size. Remember, in multiply, if you go over it too much, it will look like a double paint dip, meaning you'll have more than one brush stroke. Okay, so there we go. And what you can do to the eyes, you can go back onto, well, let me actually see, I just missed a spot there. You can go back onto this layer, or we can actually paint the eyes on top of that layer. You can erase, because the background is, oh right, that's what I did, I'm sorry. I made a new layer. Take that back, don't use your eraser on the smart, because we don't want to undo that smart layer yet. And I'm going to just flip this and go to white, and we're going to do white normally. I'm going to give him some Scooby eyes. Oh, got to go back to my brush tool. See, I do the same thing you guys do. I forget things. And there's one eye. And let's get the second one in. See, I have to refer to this because it does change when you put those filters on. And then it also needs black, so I'm going to go back to my default, and I'm going to give him some dots for his eyes there. Okay, so there we got our basic Scooby, and this is all selected still. and it's transparent because it's a smart object. I'm going to go back to my sidewalk, which is already selected. I'm going to select an all, come back to my Scooby project, and I'm going to paste. So, obviously I did not make the right selection. I'm going to undo that. Let's go back here. Oops. Make sure I'm here. Edit, copy, and now go back to this, and we're going to go to edit, paste. Okay, so I'm going to just drag this below my smart layer. Come on, layer. Just layer order here. Why aren't you moving? There. Try to do it the other way. I'll move everything up. There we go. Okay. Sometimes things get glitchy and you got to work through those glitches. All right, first thing I got to do here before I add some noise and do some other things is I got to get him so that he's flat on the sidewalk. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click shift. Okay, if you're unable to click shift, you can actually combine these layers at this point. You can do a merge down. It's better if you keep the smart layer, but if you, I know some of you work on an iPad and it gets a little bit hard. So then you go up to your edit, transform, and the first thing I'm going to do is scale, because you can see he's too big for my sidewalk, so I want to get him scale. You notice when I do this how it changes a little bit from because it's going back to its smart roots. And then I'm also going to go to our transform, and I'm going to do perspective. And I'm looking at this line here. This is a perspective line, and so is this. So I want to get this stretched out so it looks like he's like laying on that. And I could also pull it in a little bit too. And I can go back and I could do some edit, transform, and I could rotate a little bit. Okay, that's not so bad. When you're done, you hit OK. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want to change this to, I think soft light was a good one. Soft light gives it almost too light. Overlay is a little bit brighter, so it gives it that kind of feel. Multiply, I feel like was too light or too dark, but you can use it if you want. Multiply can work too. And you can also lower the opacity of the layers just a little bit so you see more texture coming through as if we were working with chalk. And then after that, you can add some more noise if you want. Oh, yeah, you could do that. You could add more noise if you want. I wouldn't add too much noise, but you could add just a little bit noise. There you go. Get it more scratchy looking. And the last thing that you want to do to this is we're going to do an effect, and we're going to do a stroke like we outlined it. I'm going to leave it on black. Hit OK. And because I lowered the opacity of the layer, it's changing it right now. So I'm going to say I'm going to go to, I think anything between 1 and 5 is pretty good. So if you were to bring back the opacity, you can see like that's nice crisp outline. You don't have to lower it that much. We were pretty low there. All right, and the last thing you're going to do is you're going to add some text. And I found this font, it says Gotchi Hand. I'm pretty sure it's Gotchi. And I'm going to type in with my text tool, which will make its own new layer. And I'll say Scooby-Doo. And you can see it gives a scratchy feeling to it. Not scratchy, handwriting feeling to it. I'm going to change the color. I'm going to go, you can see that some of the colors that you chose are right here. So I'm going to pick that brown that we used. I'm also going to make it a little bit larger in my font. And I'm going to position it. And then I am going to put this in perspective too. So I'm going to transform perspective and get this to Nope, that's a free transform. I want to do perspective. And you'll see, I might have to rastify this first. Yeah, I think I have to rastify that first. Let's do that first. Go to layer, rastify, and now I should be able to get more perspective with this. There we go. So now I can, yeah. So now it looks like it's more flat on there. And then you hit, so don't forget to rastify it. You can also put an effect on this too. You can add a stroke to that too. That's a little bit too much. I'm going to bring that down to 2. That's good. And then I'm going to change that layer to multiply. So you see a little bit of the texture there. I could lower that to see the texture of the sidewalk, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go up there and I'm going to use that filter that I said I was going to use, the noise, add noise, not so much, just enough, give it some scratchy look, and hit OK. And we are done. When you save this, you're going to do File, Save as PSD. A lot of you are still not saving this right, and I'm going to start to take off points for that. You know I've been giving a lot of good points out. If you're not able to do this in Photoshop or Photopea, you're having technical difficulties, you can do your own sidewalk chalk drawing. I'm going to be attaching a actual document to partake in our going to be doing it with a few of my classes, and maybe more of the teachers are going to do it too. So we'll have a whole gallery on a Padlet to kind of share with each other our artwork. If you want, you can put a frame around it, however you want to do it. Just make sure you save it, and we are good to go. All right, everybody. Any questions? We do have a Google Meet this Friday. It's going to be at 10:30, so hopefully you can join us if you have questions, and if not, we're good.